My fiancée ghosted me just 1 week before our wedding, took every penny from the joint account, blocked me on everything, and flew to another country with a guy I didn't even know existed. I didn't beg. I didn't chase. I just froze the account, filed for fraud, and sent her mom a text that said, "You raised a criminal, not a bride." 2 days later, she was in customs, in handcuffs, crying her eyes out. And the real fallout hasn't even started yet. The rain was coming down in sheets when I got home from work that Friday evening, exactly 1 week before what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. The weather matched my mood, something had felt off all day. Call it intuition, call it paranoia, but something in my gut was telling me that things weren't right. I should have known when Ellie didn't answer any of my texts that afternoon. She always responded, even when she was in meetings. A quick busy, talk later was her standard. Radio silence wasn't her style. The apartment was dark when I unlocked the door. No lights, no dinner cooking, no Netflix playing in the background. Just silence. "Ellie?" I called out, shaking the rain from my jacket. No answer. I hit the lights and looked around. Nothing seemed out of place at first glance, but as I moved through our apartment, I started noticing things missing. Her favorite coffee mug. The framed photo of her family from the bookshelf. The throw blanket her grandmother had knitted for her. My heart rate picked up as I headed to our bedroom. The closet door was open. Half of it, her half, was empty. Hangers dangled like skeletons where her dresses and blouses should have been. The suitcase we'd bought for our honeymoon was gone. I sat on the edge of the bed, my mind racing to make sense of what I was seeing. Had something happened to her? Was she in trouble? With trembling fingers, I called her phone. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Same result. I opened Instagram and searched for her profile. User not found. The same message greeted me on Facebook, Twitter, and even LinkedIn. It was as if she'd been wiped from the internet, or more accurately, as if I'd been wiped from her life. In a moment of desperate hope, I logged into our joint bank account, the one we'd set up 6 months ago to save for the wedding and our future together. The one where my paycheck was directly deposited. The one that, as of that morning, had contained $43,782. Current balance, $17.36. My blood turned to ice in my veins. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't an emergency. This was calculated. This was betrayal. I tried calling her parents. Her father didn't pick up. Her mother answered on the third ring. "Hello, Daniel," she said, her voice detached and cold. "Mrs. Collins, where's Ellie? What's going on?" The panic in my voice was audible. There was a long pause before she responded. "Eleanor has made her decision, Daniel. I think it's best if you respect that and move on with your life." "What decision?" "She emptied our bank account. She's gone. We're getting married next week." I was shouting now, unable to control the surge of emotions. "The wedding is off. I'm sorry it had to end this way." Her tone suggested she wasn't sorry at all. "Please don't call again." The line went dead. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. The woman I'd loved for 3 years, the woman I'd proposed to on a beach in Maui as the sun set, the woman who'd cried happy tears and said yes 1,000 times, had vanished. Taking my money, my trust, and my future with her. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Something cold and focused took over my mind. This wasn't just a broken heart, this was theft. This was fraud. I called the bank. The customer service representative sounded sympathetic but ultimately unhelpful. "I'm sorry, Mr. Wright, but Ms. Collins is a joint account holder. Legally, she had every right to withdraw those funds." "She took everything," I said flatly. "Over $40,000. Money we were saving for our wedding. For our life together." "I understand your frustration, but can you at least tell me when and where the withdrawal was made?" The representative hesitated. "I'm not supposed to. But I can see it was a wire transfer initiated online yesterday at 3:42 p.m. to an account at Banco Internacional. That's in Spain," I finished. "She transferred it to Spain." A memory surfaced, Ellie mentioning a colleague who'd recently moved to Madrid. Marcus something. They'd worked together on a project last year. She'd mentioned him casually a few times since, nothing that had ever raised any red flags. "Is there anything else I can help you with, Mr. Wright?" "Yes," I said, suddenly remembering something crucial. "I need to report my card as stolen and freeze the account immediately." "Your card was stolen as well?" "No," I replied coldly. "But the person who emptied my account certainly didn't have my permission to do so." After handling the immediate banking concerns, I sat down at my computer and started piecing things together. I wasn't some obsessive boyfriend who monitored Ellie's every move, but I knew her passwords to several accounts, just as she knew mine. We'd had that kind of trust. I logged into her email, half expecting to be locked out there too. Surprisingly, I wasn't. She must have forgotten about this one in her hurry to erase her digital footprint. What I found confirmed my suspicions and then some. Emails between Ellie and Marcus going back 8 months. At first professional, then friendly, then intimate. Flight confirmations to Madrid. An apartment lease application with both their names on it. And then I found the smoking gun, an email from 3 days ago. From Marcus.Richardson@gmail.com to Ellie.collins@gmail.com. Subject: one more thing. Babe, make sure you clean out the account before you leave. His name is on it too, so technically it's legal. Once you're here, we'll transfer it to a new account under just your name. The bank here is ready to help with everything. 3 more days and we're together for good. No more sneaking around. No more pretending. I still can't believe you were going to go through with the wedding if we hadn't reconnected at the conference. His loss is definitely my gain. See you soon, M. The rage that filled me was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Cold, precise, and focused. This wasn't just Ellie running off with another man, this was premeditated. They'd planned this theft. They'd laughed about it. I forwarded the emails to myself, took screenshots, and saved everything. Then I did something Ellie clearly hadn't anticipated. I called my cousin, Detective Sarah Wright of the Financial Crimes Unit. Danny? What's wrong? Aren't you supposed to be in full wedding panic mode right now? Sarah's voice was light, teasing. The wedding's off, I said flatly. Ellie cleaned out our joint account and fled the country with another man. What? Are you serious? The teasing tone vanished instantly. Deadly serious. And I need your help. Sarah came over that night with Chinese food, a bottle of whiskey, and a notebook. She listened without interrupting as I laid out everything I knew. Okay, she said when I finished, her expression grim. Let's talk about this from both angles, personal and legal. She took a sip of whiskey before continuing. Personally, you got screwed over by someone you trusted. It's devastating, and I'm so sorry, Danny. But legally, this is complicated. Joint accounts are tricky because both parties have equal right to the money, regardless of who deposited it. So she just gets away with it? I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. I didn't say that, Sarah replied, a small, determined smile forming on her lips. There are some very interesting details here. For one, those emails show clear intent to defraud you. They planned this together, knowing full well the money wasn't rightfully hers. She pulled out her phone and made a few notes. Plus, she did this right before your wedding, which could potentially be seen as a form of marriage fraud. What does that mean exactly? It means, Sarah said, putting down her phone, that while she might have been legally allowed to withdraw from the joint account, the context and intent matter. And we have evidence of that intent. I felt a small flicker of hope. So what do we do? First thing tomorrow, you're going to file a police report. Then we're going to contact the FBI's International Operations Division because this crosses borders. And we're going to file a civil lawsuit for the recovery of assets. She leaned forward, eyes serious. Danny, this won't be quick or easy. International cases rarely are. But if you want to fight this, I'm with you all the way. I want to fight it, I said without hesitation. Good. She nodded, then added, now, have you told anyone else about this? I shook my head. Just you. I haven't even told my parents yet. You need to. And you need to cancel all the wedding arrangements. But first. She pulled out another phone, her work phone. Let me make a call to get things moving. As Sarah stepped into the kitchen to make her call, I stared at the half-empty bottle of whiskey. A week ago, I'd been finalizing seating arrangements and writing my vows. Now I was plotting legal action against the woman I'd thought I'd spend my life with. My phone buzzed with a text from Ellie's mother. Daniel, please remember that Eleanor always had your best interests at heart. Sometimes people grow apart. I hope you find peace soon. The audacity of it made my blood boil. Best interests at heart while she stole my life savings? While she planned her escape for months behind my back? I'd always liked Mrs. Collins. She'd welcomed me into their family, or so I'd thought. Now I wondered if she'd known all along what her daughter was planning. Without thinking too hard about the consequences, I typed a response, you raised a criminal, not a bride. Tell Ellie to enjoy the money while she can. I hit send just as Sarah walked back in. Good news, she said, sounding energized. My contact at the FBI is intrigued, especially given the international angle. He's going to call me back tomorrow after I send him the evidence. I nodded, feeling strangely calm now. What are the chances we can get her for this? Sarah sat back down. Honestly? Better than you might think. Wire fraud across international borders is serious business. If we can prove intent, which those emails help with, and if the amount is significant enough, which $40,000 certainly is, then we've got a solid case. And the money? That's trickier. International recovery is always complicated. But Spain has a strong legal cooperation with the US. It's not like she fled to some country with no extradition treaty. She picked up her whiskey again. The good news is, you froze the account. That was smart. If they try to access it again, it'll trigger alerts. She has the money already, I pointed out. Yes, but people like this get greedy. They might try to come back for more, credit cards, loans in your name, who knows? The freeze protects you from further damage. Sarah's phone rang, and she answered quickly. I could hear only her side of the conversation. Yes. No, I'm with him now. Absolutely, first thing tomorrow. Yes, we have documentation. No, she's already left the country. Spain, yes. Understood. Thanks, I owe you one. She hung up and turned to me, her expression more determined than ever. My contact is escalating this. Apparently, They've been seeing a pattern of cases like this, romantic partners cleaning out accounts and fleeing the country. They're taking it seriously. So what now? I asked. Now, Sarah said, pouring us each another finger of whiskey, we wait for morning, file the reports, and start building your case. And you try to get some sleep, though I know that's easier said than done. I nodded, the reality of my situation finally hitting me in waves. In just a few hours, my entire life had been upended. The future I'd planned had vanished. I know it doesn't feel like it now, Sarah said softly, reading my expression, but you're going to get through this. And when it's all done, she's going to regret ever thinking she could take advantage of you. I raised my glass in a mock toast. To justice. Sarah clinked her glass against mine. To justice. The next morning was a blur of paperwork, phone calls, and difficult conversations. I called my parents first, the words catching in my throat as I explained what had happened. My mother cried. My father swore vengeance. I appreciated their support but asked them to let me handle it my way. Then came the calls to the wedding vendors, the venue, the caterer, the photographer, the band. Some were understanding and offered partial refunds despite their cancellation policies. Others were less sympathetic. By noon, I'd lost another few $1,000s on non-refundable deposits. Sarah met me at the police station where we filed the official report. The detective assigned to the case seemed skeptical at first, another domestic dispute, his expression seemed to say, until Sarah laid out the evidence and mentioned her FBI contact's interest. His demeanor changed quickly after that. We'll coordinate with international authorities, he assured us. This kind of case is unfortunately becoming more common. After the police station, we headed to my bank where I met with the fraud department in person. They took copies of the emails, the police report, and started their own investigation. Even though it was a joint account, the evidence of planning and intent changes things, the fraud investigator explained. We may be able to flag the transfer as fraudulent and work with the receiving bank to freeze those funds. It was a small hope, but I clung to it. By late afternoon, I was emotionally and physically exhausted. Sarah dropped me back at my apartment with strict instructions to eat something and try to rest. I'll call you the minute I hear anything, she promised. Left alone, I wandered through the half-empty apartment that still bore all the signs of Ellie's presence. Photos of us together on the walls. The coffee table she'd insisted on buying. The wine glasses from her parents that we were saving for the wedding toast. In a fit of anger and grief, I started packing her remaining things into boxes. Anything she'd left behind, books, winter clothes, the expensive blender she'd bought but never used, went into storage containers that I stacked by the door. It was therapeutic in a way, physically removing her from my space just as she'd removed herself from my life. As I was clearing out the bathroom cabinet, my phone rang with an unknown international number. My heart jumped to my throat. Was it Ellie? I answered cautiously. Hello? Is this Daniel Wright? A heavily accented male voice asked. Yes, who's this? My name is Inspector Javier Montero with the Spanish National Police, Financial Crimes Division. I am calling regarding a report filed against Eleanor Collins and Marcus Richardson. I sat down on the edge of the bathtub, my legs suddenly weak. Yes, I filed that report. Senor Wright, we have located Ms. Collins and Mr. Richardson in Madrid. We are currently monitoring their activities while we coordinate with your authorities. You've found them already? I couldn't believe it. See. They used Ms. Collins's passport to enter the country yesterday and checked into the Hotel Catalonia Gran Via under their real names. Not very sophisticated criminals, it seems. I almost laughed at the absurdity. For all their careful planning, they hadn't even bothered to use fake names. What happens now? I asked. We are building a case on our end. The money was transferred to a Spanish bank, which gives us jurisdiction. We need to move carefully to ensure the funds don't disappear again. In the meantime, we would appreciate if you could send any additional evidence you have directly to me. He provided an email address, and I promised to forward everything I had immediately. One more thing, Senor Wright, the inspector added before hanging up. In these cases, it is often helpful if the victims do not alert the suspects that they are under investigation. Don't worry, I assured him. As far as Ellie knows, I'm sitting here heartbroken and clueless. After the call, I immediately phoned Sarah to update her. She was ecstatic. This is moving faster than I expected, she admitted. Inspector Montero is good, I've worked with him on a case before. If anyone can help us recover your money, it's him. For the first time since discovering Ellie's betrayal, I felt a glimmer of hope. That evening, I received a text from an unknown number. Daniel, it's Ellie. I'm sorry things ended this way. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. I've moved on, and you should too. The money was as much mine as yours. I stared at the message, feeling a fresh wave of anger wash over me. The audacity. The sheer entitlement in her words. I typed and deleted several responses before deciding on silence. Let her think I was defeated. Let her think she'd won. I forwarded the message to Inspector Montero and Sarah, then blocked the number. 3 days passed in a strange limbo. I returned to work, explaining to my sympathetic boss that the wedding was off and asking for his discretion. I avoided social media, not ready to face the inevitable questions and pity from friends who would soon discover there would be no wedding. Sarah kept me updated on the investigation's progress. The FBI had officially opened a case and was working with the Spanish authorities. The bank was pursuing its own channels to try to recover the funds. On the fourth day after Ellie's disappearance, I received an unexpected visitor at my apartment, Ellie's younger sister, Megan. "Can I come in?" she asked, her expression uncharacteristically serious. I hesitated but stepped aside to let her enter. Megan had always been the black sheep of the Collins family, more honest, less concerned with appearances than her parents or sister. Once inside, she got straight to the point. "I didn't know what she was planning, Daniel. I swear. I only found out yesterday when Mom let it slip that Ellie was in Spain with some guy named Marcus." "And you came here because?" I left the question hanging. "Because what she did was wrong," Megan said firmly. "And because I thought you should know that Mom and Dad helped her." I froze. "What do you mean, helped her?" Megan sighed, looking uncomfortable. "They knew about Marcus for months. They helped her plan the timing. Dad even connected her with a friend at the bank to make sure the transfer went through without raising flags." My mind was reeling. So it wasn't just Ellie, it was the entire Collins family conspiring against me. "Why are you telling me this?" Megan met my gaze directly. "Because it's the right thing to do. And because I'm sick of watching my family get away with treating people like they're disposable." She reached into her bag and pulled out a manila envelope. "These are copies of emails between Ellie and Mom from the past 2 months. There's also a copy of a check Dad wrote to Ellie last week, $20,000 labeled as a wedding gift that I'm pretty sure was never meant for any wedding." I took the envelope, speechless. "I'm sorry, Daniel. You deserved better than what they did to you." With that, she turned and left. I immediately called Sarah, who came over to review the new evidence. Her eyes widened as she went through the documents. "This changes everything," she said. "This isn't just Ellie and Marcus anymore, this is a conspiracy that includes her parents. The Collins family is well connected in this city. Thomas Collins sits on the board of 3 major companies. Does that make our case harder?" Sarah shook her head, a determined glint in her eye. "No, it makes it bigger. Wire fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, possibly even money laundering depending on how they structured that gift. The FBI is going to be very interested in this development." She was right. When we forwarded the new evidence to her FBI contact and Inspector Montero, the response was immediate. The case was elevated in priority. The next morning, I received another call from Inspector Montero. "Senor Wright, we are moving on Ms. Collins and Mr. Richardson today. The evidence provided by Ms. Collins's sister was the final piece we needed. We have secured a court order to freeze all accounts associated with them in Spain." My heart pounded. "What about the money they took from me?" "We have located most of it. They spent some already, expensive dinners, shopping, a down payment on an apartment, but approximately $36,000 remains secured." Relief flooded through me. It wasn't everything, but it was substantial. "There is one more thing," the inspector continued. "We believe they are planning to leave Spain for Portugal tomorrow. We intend to detain them before they cross the border." "They're running again?" It appears Mr. Richardson became nervous when the bank asked questions about the source of their funds. "They purchased train tickets to Lisbon yesterday." After hanging up, I felt strangely calm. The net was closing around Ellie and Marcus. Justice was coming. That night, I finally worked up the courage to post a simple message on social media. "Due to unforeseen circumstances, Eleanor Collins and I will not be getting married next Saturday. I appreciate your understanding and respect for privacy during this time." Simple, dignified, revealing nothing of the drama unfolding across the Atlantic. Within minutes, my phone was flooded with messages from concerned friends and family. I turned it off and went to bed, sleeping soundly for the first time in days. I was in a meeting at work when Sarah called the next day. I excused myself and took the call in the hallway. "They got her," Sarah said without preamble. "Spanish police arrested Ellie and Marcus at Madrid Atocha station as they were boarding a train to Lisbon. They're in custody now." I leaned against the wall, my legs suddenly unsteady. "Both of them?" "Yes. And here's where it gets even better," Marcus cracked immediately. Started claiming the whole thing was Ellie's idea, that she manipulated him, that he didn't know the money was stolen. "That's not what his emails showed," I pointed out. "Exactly. And the Spanish authorities have those emails." Marcus just dug himself a deeper hole with his lies. I tried to picture Ellie in handcuffs, being led away by Spanish police. The woman who was supposed to be saying "I do" in just 2 days, now facing criminal charges in a foreign country. "What happens next?" I asked. "They'll have an initial hearing in Spain, but ultimately, we're pushing for extradition back to the US since the crime originated here. Your money, what's left of it, has been frozen and should be returned to you after the legal proceedings." I thanked Sarah and returned to my meeting, attempting to focus on the presentation but finding my mind continually drifting to Madrid. That evening, I received another unexpected call, this time from Mrs. Collins. "You've ruined my daughter's life," she hissed without greeting. "Are you satisfied now?" I remained calm. "Your daughter and your family ruined my life first, Mrs. Collins. Or did you forget that part?" "It was just money," she spat. "People break up all the time." "Yes, they do," I agreed. "But most people don't steal $40,000 when they do it. And most parents don't help their children commit felonies." There was a shocked silence on the other end. That's right, I continued. We know about your involvement. The emails, the check, all of it. I'd be more concerned about your own legal situation right now than about Ellie's. You're bluffing, she said, but I could hear the fear creeping into her voice. Am I? Ask Megan what she gave me. And maybe check your email, there might be something from the FBI waiting for you. I hung up, blocking her number immediately afterward. Let her stew in the knowledge that her carefully constructed respectable life was about to come crashing down around her. 2 days later, what should have been my wedding day, I received a video call from Inspector Montero. When I answered, he was standing in what looked like an airport. Senor Wright, I thought you might want to witness this moment, he said, turning his camera. And there she was, Ellie, flanked by 2 officers, her hands cuffed in front of her. She looked nothing like the confident, put-together woman I'd known. Her hair was disheveled, her makeup-free face pale and drawn. She was wearing the same clothes I'd seen in the single photo the Spanish police had sent earlier, a once elegant blouse now wrinkled and stained, designer jeans that hung loosely as if she'd lost weight. We are escorting Ms. Collins to her flight back to the United States, Inspector Montero explained. She has been charged here in Spain, but as per the agreement with your FBI, she is being extradited to face charges in your country as well. I watched in silence as they led her toward a gate. She hadn't noticed the phone or that I was watching. What about Marcus? I asked. Mr. Richardson remains in custody here. His situation is complicated. He had outstanding warrants in the UK that we discovered during our investigation. British authorities have also filed for extradition. So Marcus was an even bigger con artist than we'd realized. Part of me wondered if Ellie had known, if she'd jumped from one sinking ship to another without realizing it. Ms. Collins will arrive in New York tomorrow morning, Inspector Montero continued. FBI agents will be waiting for her. As they approached the gate, Ellie suddenly looked up and noticed the phone in the inspector's hand. Our eyes met through the screen, and I saw a flood of emotions cross her face, shock, shame, and finally, a desperate kind of pleading. Daniel, she called out. Daniel, please. You have to help me. This is all a misunderstanding. I said nothing, just held her gaze steadily. Please, she begged, tears streaming down her face now. Tell them to let me go. Tell them you don't want to press charges. I'll pay you back, I promise. This is ruining my life. Inspector Montero turned the camera back to himself. Do you have anything you wish to say to Ms. Collins, Senor Wright? I thought for a moment, then nodded. Yes, please let her hear this. The inspector turned the camera again so Ellie could see me clearly. You made your choice, Ellie, I said, my voice steady. You chose to steal from me, to lie to me, to betray me in the most painful way possible. You chose to involve your parents in your crime. You chose to run away with a man who, it turns out, has his own criminal past. Every step of the way, these were your choices. Her face crumpled, but I continued. I didn't choose any of this. But I did choose not to be your victim. I chose to stand up for myself. I chose justice. And now you get to live with the consequences of both our choices. Time to board, Ms. Collins, one of the officers said, gently but firmly guiding her forward. Daniel, please, she cried one last time before disappearing through the gate. Inspector Montero turned the camera back to himself. That was intense. Are you okay, Senor Wright? I let out a long breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Yes, actually. I think I am. And surprisingly, I meant it. Seeing Ellie like that, broken, desperate, facing the consequences of her actions, hadn't brought me the satisfaction I'd expected. Instead, it brought me closure. The woman sobbing at the airport gate wasn't the woman I'd fallen in love with. Perhaps she never had been. The legal proceedings that followed were lengthy and complex. Ellie was charged with wire fraud, theft, and conspiracy. Marcus faced similar charges in Spain before his eventual extradition to the UK. Thomas and Diana Collins were indicted for their roles in the conspiracy, their carefully cultivated social standing crumbling as the details became public. Most of my money was eventually returned, about $34,000 in total. Not the full amount, but enough. The financial blow had been painful but not devastating. 6 months after what should have been my wedding day, I sat in a courtroom watching as Ellie, dressed in a plain blue suit, stood before a judge for sentencing. She'd taken a plea deal, admitting her guilt in exchange for reduced charges. Ms. Collins, the judge said, looking at her over his glasses, the court has reviewed your plea agreement and the recommendations from both the prosecution and defense. Before I pronounce sentence, do you have anything you wish to say? Ellie nodded, then turned slightly so she could see me sitting in the gallery. Our eyes met briefly before she addressed the court. I want to apologize to Daniel, she said, her voice small but clear in the quiet courtroom. What I did was inexcusable. I betrayed someone who loved me completely and who deserved better. I let greed and selfishness override everything good in me. She paused, taking a shaky breath. I also want to apologize to my sister, Megan, who had the courage to stand up for what was right when the rest of our family didn't. Megan, sitting a few rows behind me, remained stoic. I don't expect forgiveness, Ellie continued. I don't deserve it. But I want the court to know that I understand the gravity of what I did, and I am prepared to accept whatever punishment you deem appropriate. The judge nodded, considering her words. Ms. Collins, the crime you committed was not just a violation of law but a violation of trust. You deliberately planned to steal from someone who trusted you implicitly, someone who was preparing to spend his life with you. He shuffled some papers before continuing. While I acknowledge your guilty plea and apparent remorse, I cannot overlook the calculated nature of your actions. Therefore, it is the judgment of this court that you be sentenced to 18 months in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. You are also ordered to make full restitution of the outstanding amount not yet recovered. The gavel struck, and just like that, it was over. As Ellie was led away by a court officer, she looked back one last time. I didn't wave. I didn't nod. I simply watched as she disappeared through the door, out of the courtroom and out of my life. Outside the courthouse, Megan approached me. "Thank you," she said. "For making sure they all faced consequences." "I should be thanking you," I replied. "Without the evidence you provided, none of this would have happened." She shrugged uncomfortably. "I just did what was right. I'm sorry it came at the expense of my family." "They made their choices," I said, echoing what I'd told Ellie months earlier. "Still," Megan sighed, "it's strange to realize your entire family is built on lies and appearances. My parents care more about how things look than about doing the right thing. Ellie learned that from them." We stood in silence for a moment, two people connected by circumstance rather than choice. "What will you do now?" I finally asked. "Start over somewhere new. I got a job offer in Seattle. Fresh start, away from the Collins family drama." She gave a small, sad smile. "What about you?" I considered the question. The past 6 months had been a journey through anger, betrayal, vindication, and finally, a kind of peace. "Move forward," I said simply. "That's all any of us can do." As Megan walked away, my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "It's officially over. Dinner tonight to celebrate?" I smiled and texted back, "Absolutely. I'm buying." The spring sun was warm on my face as I descended the courthouse steps. In another life, I would have been married for 6 months by now, perhaps planning a delayed honeymoon or discussing when to start a family. Instead, I was single, wiser, and strangely, not bitter. What Ellie and her family had done was cruel and criminal. But in surviving it, in refusing to be a victim, I discovered a strength in myself I hadn't known existed. The wedding that never happened had been replaced by something unexpected, a new beginning, unplanned and unwritten. And for the first time in a long time, I was looking forward to seeing where it might lead. As I walked to my car, I deleted the last reminder of the wedding from my calendar, the 1-year anniversary I'd optimistically programmed in. One final tie, severed. It was time to write a new story. My own.